Well, good evening and welcome back once again to Bite by Bite, a journey into the gift of living in the divine will. I'm Larry Leopold and I'm a Carmelite and I'm also a spiritual director. And every week we try and take just a little bit more of this amazing gift and see how we can live it, how to understand it in our lives and be able to grow in it as well. Well, tonight we are speaking and will be for the maybe the rest of Lent on the hours of the Passion, which we wanted to thank all of you who heard and responded by joining our Divine Will Hours of Passion clock, where we want to keep Jesus company 24 hours of his 24 hours in his Passion. At this point, we have 140 souls to keep him company, which is great because what we see as we grow and learn more and more about his hours of passion, the thing that pained him most was being abandoned by everyone. And so not only is the reading of the hours the thing that pleases him most, but this great company, this desire to be with him and to console him as he walks through this work of love, which the Passion is. This touches his heart. And all the promises of the hours of the Passion are theirs for you, for the taking. The promise of for every word you meditate, a soul will be saved. Right? How this is transformative. Even just the reading of it will allow you to move into the highest levels of this gift of the divine will. The living in the fourth degree, where you're more in heaven than on earth. And how these hours accompany every soul. Everyone that goes to purgatory is marked with the hours that you do for them, as well as all the angels and saints in heaven. So this is an extraordinary gift, an extraordinary way of being with him this Lent. All right. And so tonight, what I wanted to do is to share with you, in my little way, I guess, how I, when I read the hours, how I'm able to meditate and enter into them more deeply. It's my conviction that as we grow in our life of prayer into a stillness, into silence, moving from the level of mental prayer into this bilocating into Jesus with him in the eternal now, where these hours continue to go on. His suffering continues to go on, much as it does in the Eucharist. That is still in the now, and that we have the opportunity to be with him in the now, what he went through 2,000 years ago, not just to watch, but to participate with him, to accompany him, to console him. All right. And so as we go through that, what I'd like to do is to read just a portion for you, right, in a way that I hope is also touching you, right, and allowing you hopefully to experience some of what he goes through, and is able then to console him with your being with him, all right. And so in this fifth hour of the Passion, we come upon him in the Garden of Gethsemane. And there's so many beautiful pieces, but I'm just going to take one piece, one section, right? And kind of, as we read it, do it in an expository way. So kind of stopping, pausing, digging in deeper, understanding what it is we're seeing and hearing, right? So this might be a little different, but I'm hoping that as you are able to be still and perhaps close your eyes and come down with Jesus into the garden where it's dark, it's cold. Even the leaves are moving slowly with a premonition of sadness, of suffering. All right. And we find Jesus there, alone, abandoned by everyone. And he's in deep agony as he's taking in these hours in the garden a dying born of love, which we would like to look at together tonight a bit more deeply. And so we have Luisa, who now in this passage comes upon Jesus and telling him, "Here I am, O Jesus, together with you." Right? Because he'd been calling her, waiting for her. And as she came to him, she says, "Is that you? I've been waiting for you so I'm not alone." Right? And the thing that bothered me the most was being forsaken and abandoned by everyone. So now as we continue our reading, he says, Luisa says to him, "But I don't have the heart to see you cast on the ground as he was in his sufferings." And so she says, "I take you in my arms and I press you to my heart. And I want to count one by one your strainings and one by one the offenses which advance toward you in order to give you relief for everything." So here, as she's now with Jesus, right, she's seeing his suffering, right, and she wants to not only witness, but testify to what he's doing, to be with him. And this counting one by one of everything he's going through is like being his dictator, his witness for all of us. Not only the sufferings he's having, but the offenses that cause those sufferings as they advance toward him in this moment. And as she's doing that, she knows that in this kind of being present with him, accompanying him, provides relief for him. And he calls for that relief. He says, "I need you." This is the call to us, the creature, right? She wants to give relief for everything. She wants to give reparation for everything. And to give you, Jesus, at least one act of my compassion for everything. And so this participation, this being with him that is like bilocation into his very heart. And that's part of what this Louisian method that Father Iannuzzi teaches us, where we're not just watching it. We're with him. Inside of him is an interior sufferings, but also participating in the redemption of it. Right? Working with him, because within us is also the divine will. Within us is also Jesus living his real life in us. And as we fused with him in this gift, he is there now with himself in the garden through us, keeping himself company through our compassion, through the divine will. But now Luisa is noticing that, "Oh, my Jesus, while I hold you in my arms, your sufferings increase. My life," she says, "I feel fire flowing through your veins, and I feel your blood boiling." Right? She didn't say, "I know the fire." She feels the fire. Where? In her own veins. She feels her own blood boiling in compassion for Jesus within her veins, wanting to burst the veins to come out, right? And what is that boiling? The fire that she's experiencing, that Jesus is going through, but the fire of his consuming love, turning his blood to fire, right? And desiring to burst out as it would want to burst out of his heart. Why would Jesus want to love at a moment like this? Why is his heart so constrained with love? Well, because we have rejected it. And God, Jesus, who is love, only wants to pour out his love, regardless of our fact that we don't want it, that we neglect it, that we resist it and have contempt for it in our disobedience and the following of our human will. Still, he does not stop loving. not stop desiring to pour out that love. And so Luisa says, tell me, my love, what is it? What is it that's causing you this anguish, right? And she says, I do not see scourges, nor thorns, nor nails, nor cross. Yet, as I place my head upon your heart, I feel that cruel thorns pierce your head, that ruthless scourges spare not even the smallest part, inside or outside of your divine person, and that your hands are paralyzed and contorted more than by nails. So this is going on in the garden. It's an interior passion, an interior suffering that Jesus is doing from love, right? And this is what love is doing to him. Why? Why love? Well, one is love for his Father, right? The Father who was denied the love that was due him, that he poured out on all of creation and all of us, in you. A love that by all rights, by all justice, was his to be returned to him. For love is not love if it's not returned. And his love has not been returned since Adam's sin. But what this pain is causing the Father, Jesus experiences through his humanity the way we would experience brokenheartedness, rejection of love or love, right? But in the physical sufferings of the cruelty of every part of that rejected love, as we see the thorns that he will experience in his person in that passion coming later, are thorns of the evil thoughts rejecting him and his love, right? The scourges are those that are caused by those who would belong to him and yet live lives not conform to his, lying with their bodies what they profess with their lips, right? And his hands are paralyzed, contorted more by nails, by those who, instead of serving his will, doing the work of love, serve only themselves, their selfish desires, indulging evil and wickedness in the world. And so his interior is suffering, that which he will be suffering in his body. But in this garden experience, it's a pain of love, a death of love that he calls it, a death more cruel than what will happen in his actual oppression and death. And he tells us about that. Tell me, my sweet good, who has so much power also in your interior to torment you and make you suffer as many deaths for as many torments as this gives you? And so Jesus, opening his lips, says to Luisa, in a voice that is faint and dying, he says, my child, do you want to know what it is that torments me more than the very executioners? Rather, those are nothing compared to this. It is the eternal love, which, wanting primacy in everything, is making me suffer. Love. The love that God is, that is his very essence and substance, is causing this total pain and suffering within Jesus, a suffering more excruciating and more devastating than whatever he receives later at the hands of the Jews, okay, and the Romans. This eternal love, which, wanting primacy in everything, is making me suffer all at once, and in my intimatemost parts, what the executioners will make me suffer a little by little. My child, it is love which prevails in everything, over me and within me. And we know that it is that love which the Trinity has, that is love, flowing powerfully from Father to Son, Son to Father, growing in intensity, and wanting to spill itself over and giving that created all of us. And in return for that, right, what do we give God in our love? He said, love is nail for me. Love is scourge. Love is crown of thorns. Right? He's embracing it all because that's what love does. It doesn't run from the suffering of unrequited love. It loves more. Right? Love is everything for me, Jesus, because he is love. And this is how we learn what love really is. Not our romantic versions of someone doing what makes us feel good, right? No, love, he says, is my perennial passion, my forever passion. While for men, it is in time. And for a time, right? Men love until they get tired of love. And they're able to let go of it, but not God. His love is everlasting and eternal as he is. So Jesus says to Luisa, my child, enter into my heart and come, be dissolved in my love. And only in my love will you comprehend how much I suffered and how much I loved you. And you will learn to love me and to suffer only out of love. So Jesus is showing us through his person, through his agony in the garden, and then later at the hands at the cross and his death, what love really is. Right? That love and joy are joined by love and suffering. That the highest level of heaven is to be vulnerable to the pain and the ultimate intimacy and suffering of love. This is a hard lesson for us who have been trained and cultivated in the feel-good of love, right? In the pleasing my human will of love, of take care of me love, instead of the sacrifice, the self-giving, the self-surrender and pouring out of self that Christ was his whole life, but never more so than here in the garden, where he pours out not only all his love, but his very sweat is pouring out his blood. He's sweating as blood, all right? Now here we see too, that in these hours of the Passion that are connected to the book of heaven intimately, as we see on October 30th, 1924, where Jesus is now expressing and telling Luisa about the passion of unrequited love. How often do we think of the Passion as just a series of barbarous torments that Jesus suffered for us, not realizing that the real passion was the depth of his love, his passion of love, that allowed him to voluntarily do this for love of you and me. Okay? So let's listen to Jesus for just a moment here as he tells us a bit about this great love that he is. He says, everything in me is love toward the creature, toward you. In creating her, the divinity intended to love her always. And so in everything, inside and outside of her, my divine love was to run toward her with a continuous and incessant new act of love. This image we have of God somehow waiting to cast us into hell for our sin and wanting to judge us for our deviation from him is not God. That's we judge ourselves by our rejection of love. And in his justice, he permits it, right? But what he's doing is much more like what Jesus told us in the prodigal father, the one who is continually on the watch for the return of his child, who when he sees him from a distance runs to him, full of joy, full of gratitude for his return, ready to create the banquet, give him the ring, put the cloak on him, treat him like royalty once again. That's God. That's the new act of love he has always for you. And we think, no, not me. Not me, not with my thoughts, not with my actions, not with my words. He couldn't love me like that. But he does. He does. And why does he? Right? Because he has poured himself into you. Listen to this, as he says, therefore I can say that in every thought, gaze, word, breath, heartbeat, and in all the rest of you, the creature, runs my act of eternal love. He infused these things into you, in Adam, in us as humanity from the beginning, and he never took them away. We ran away from him. He didn't run from us. We broke that relationship, but he has been dying of love for you ever since. But if the divinity intended to love this creature always and in everything, why? Why would he do this? It was because it wanted to receive in everything the requital of the new and incessant love of the creature. This is what we don't understand, that we think somehow a God needs love, like he's deprived, and he has all that is. He's immutable, unchangeable, right? Omniscient in all things, omnipotent, right? But love has made him vulnerable, because love, which needs to give, is only love when it's returned and requited to complete the circuit of love, the current of love we spoke of a week or so ago, right? And it's only right that love be returned, that be requited. And so it's not only out of order, but it's just isn't right. And that's what justice, divine justice, is all about: order and that which is right. So when we didn't love God, it offended divine justice. It threw the entire harmony of the universe out of tilt. And that's why all of creation groans, because of man's running away from love. Right? And so, but if the divinity intended, right, this love to be returned, it always wanted to give love in order to receive love. It never stopped giving. It wanted to love and be loved in return. Right? This is the whole point of God. Right? Not like us. He won't run and pout if we ignore him. Instead, as we see in divine mercy, he loves us more. He wants to give us every chance and every grace, because where sin abounds, grace abounds more. God's love is more. And so it is incessant and continual. But we were to return that love. That was the design. But as he says, but it was not so. Not only did creature not want to keep the rhythm of love and respond to the echo of love of her creator, but she rejected the love. She denied it. She offended it. And at this affront, divinity did not stop. It continued its new and incessant love toward the creature. And since the creature would not receive it, heaven and earth remains filled with this love, waiting for one who would take this love so as to receive the requital of it. This has been going on and building up, this unrequited love, for centuries upon centuries upon centuries, waiting for soul who to be able to return divine love for divine love given. Now through Luisa, through this gift of the divine will, we, through Jesus abiding within us, are able to take our little acts, inconsequential in themselves, but even the simplest batting of an eyelid is an act that Jesus can convert into the divine love to satisfy the love debt built up that is owed to the Father, so that Jesus is able to love the Father back with our love, with all creatures' love, with all creation's love. And if we do this and continue to do this, then in a moment in time when the debt has been paid, then all on earth will love the Father and do his will as it is done in heaven, and the era of peace can begin. The question is, will you be part of that love giving, that love returning? Allow Jesus within you in this tremendous gift to requite his Father with divine love. So join us as we go through this Lenten now, walking, working, compassionating, suffering, and loving with Jesus. Will you be one? And that's what we have for tonight. Martha, how do we doing tonight?
You amaze me in how God uses you as an instrument to truly help us to understand, especially this 5 p.m. hour of the agony in the garden. I love how you put it. We have to we got to repay that debt that we owe God for this immense love that from day one that he created us, he wanted to give us,
Yeah.
and continues yearning for our love as a father craves and yearns that love of his children.
Yeah.
And yes, I want to join in completing that debt and loving him back.
Yeah. That was what we were made for. That's how we were made to be. That's where we will be happy.
And a reminder to everyone that's watching, the hours of the Passion are so special. They don't they're incredibly special during this Lenten season, but remember, you can do them throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
It's that special intimate moment that you can have with our Lord any day, any part of the year. Um, but yes, it is very special during this Lenten season.
And it's not too late to
Mm.
sign on to continue your Lent with us in this meditating and being with Jesus in the hours. We have plenty of room for you.
So come on board and join us.
More the better. Jesus loves the company.
All right, Larry. Well, we have some comments, people thanking us. We
Okay.
have Mita who's listening from the Philippines. That's
Ah,
exciting.
hello.
And of course,
Welcome to the Philippines.
yes. And of course, we have Milita who's just saying, God bless and thank you, sweet Larry.
Thank you.
And of course, Angel Knight.
Ah, Angel Knight, our steady companions. I love you guys.
Hmm. I will leave you to your closing remarks because honestly, you said it all. There's
Yeah,
nothing else I can add.
I don't know if I can either. But I will say that as we turn toward God, right, in this great act of love, right, where he is modeling to us what love is, that we learn that as he encountered offense, he didn't shy from it. He didn't run from it. Instead, he allowed love to transform it into redemptive love, divine love back to the Father, and to for the sake of those who were tormenting him. That was how he could always retain his calm demeanor, his dignity, that he never reacted, but was able to just be himself in the midst of it, uh, above it with divine uh, compassion, right? Which drove his tormentors furious in rage. And yet all of that was disposing them, hoping to pour grace upon them of love. So what do we take from that? All right. Well, I take that was modeling for me how we are to walk, how we are to use those things which we consider insults, offenses, neglect, lack of appreciation, uh, even annoyance, as the Blessed Mother would admonish us. and encourage us in the Virgin Mary and the divine will. They're all raw material, as they were in Jesus's hands in the Passion. They'll be in your hands for Jesus within you to convert into divine love and therefore restore all things in Christ through allowing that divine love to return it back to the Father, now purified, divinized, and ready for God. And in the process of doing this, what do we get out of it? We become like God. We become love. That's what divinization means. That this process of letting ourselves be channel of love, we become love through proximity, through association, through having it pass through us so much, right? That he becomes us and we become him. So will you become one more? One with Jesus in this fourth degree of being sealed in love. Let that happen this Lent, step by step, bite by bite. Amen? So until next week, fiat, may God bless you.